In a field lies hope, anticipation. From the biggest races to the brightest stages, taking you on the wildest ride.
Forbidden trade with a gigantic upset.
Tall Dark Stranger answers the bell. For the glory, the pride, the payoff. Enter the field, the Ontario Sire Stakes program, from Ontario farms to the world stage.
O'Brien Award winner Jimmy Freight's first crop arrives in 2021. Jimmy Freight is the richest and fastest son of sports writer and was a major stakes winner at ages 2, 3, and 4.
And Jimmy Freight turns on the Jimmy Jet by a length and a half in 1:48.1.
Jimmy Freight at 10-1 to win the Dayton Pacing Derby.
Jimmy Freight is fast and athletic, and both traits should carry to his offspring. He is standing his second season at Winback Farm of Ontario. Don't be shut out in 2021. Book now.
By now, you know the name COSA TV, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. COSA TV has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. COSA TV, taking Ontario racing global.
Sorry about that, a few technical issues there, but welcome to Jack Darling for our twos in training session this evening. And you've had a standout year in 2020, looking back at big thanks to Bulldog Hanover and Bulldog Hanover for earning more than half of your purse earnings. And of course, today we're going to take a look and a deep dive into some of those 2-year-olds that you have for your campaign season in 2021. So Jack, thanks for joining us here this evening.
Glad to be here.
Before we get right into all the nitty gritty, let's take a look at, kind of how you started. You didn't just start in harness racing. You had some show horses when you were younger. Tell us about that growing up with them and how you got into harness racing.
As a kid, my family had riding horses, all kinds of riding horses. Well, this is a parade horse that we had. Just every type of riding horse. That's me riding. That's a registered Morgan horse that I used to show. So I was raised with horses, and I loved showing them. I loved working with them. But at one point, a friend of mine took me into the Western Fair racetrack and showed me around, and I just kind of got interested in that. I was just kind of intrigued by the thought that you could possibly make some money or even make a living doing something you liked. So I learned as much as I could there, and I ended up claiming a horse and just went on from there.
And you got bit by the bug from there.
I did, yeah.
And someone else close to you, your grandson, Julian, we have a great picture here of you guys. And do you think he'll have that harness racing bug too?
Well, you never know. He likes to watch the races on the video, so I hope so.
Well, you definitely can learn some life lessons from you going through and growing up with the horses or around the horses. But let's talk about this past year. Obviously, it's been a whirlwind for everybody, but it's changed your winter for you. Usually you go to Arizona for the winter, like we were talking just off screen there the last few years. This year you stayed home in Ontario. And what's this winter been like you? February has not been so kind, but overall, how's your winter been here?
It's been tough to get used to. We've been going to Florida and Arizona for the past 30 years. So this is the first year we spent up here in a long time, and it reminds me of why I like to go south for the winter.
Absolutely. I think all of us wish we could join everyone who did go down south, but it's okay to stay here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the weather gets a little bit better, and into March, it's closer to spring, so we're one step closer to get through this winter. As we're going into, twos and training, and before we take a look at your 2-year-olds, let's take a look at your career by the numbers. It's an amazing career. You've had a small stable, you've had over 4,500 starts, over 1,000 wins. That's such a huge deal as a trainer. So what's it like for you to look at those numbers and kind of reflect on, growing up through this business, but the ups and downs that comes with it?
Well, yeah, it's been kind of interesting because these stats started in '92, and it was just shortly after that when I started buying yearlings and racing stake horses. Before that, I'd probably raced for almost 20 years before that, and it was all racehorses, claimers, racehorses, and I enjoyed that. But at one point, I just decided to try the yearlings, and I've done that since.
It's definitely, you've clicked with them. You've had, good success with those yearlings and getting them to the races and being successful, in their younger years of their campaign. But let's take a look at, last year. So 2020, even though, we didn't race the whole year, you really did have a good year. I was one of your best ones in the past decade. And that's something to say coming out of the campaign season of 2020. But obviously you had 2 major horses that played into a big factor. The first one, Bulldog Hanover. Tell us about him and kind of how he's doing, how he's training back, and what are your thoughts of him as he's coming into this year?
Well, he had a great year, and he ended up the year on a great note. His last start, I was just really impressed with him, and it sure makes me excited for next year. He's training now and he's doing good. He's just a good feeler horse. He's wants to race tomorrow, but we'll just take our time, and hopefully he'll have a good year.
It's nice to see the length of the stretch there, just easy wrapped up and to the finish wire. It's it's a great feeling in a 2-year-old campaign to have such a great year, and coming into that 3-year-old season. Obviously big expectations for him, not just by you and kind of rolling with that, but others too, and he could be one of those ones that everyone is out to beat. So hopefully, hey, like you said, he continues to do great and continues to train, and hopefully he's ready this whole season, as it can be a long one. So good luck with Bulldog Hanover this season. We'll be excited and watching, hopefully from the racetrack, but if not, from home, and cheering him on for you.
Right. Yeah, I'm
The
really
next
looking
one,
forward to racing him.
yeah, the next one kind of, made a big impact on your stable, Beaumont Hanover. Jody drove him. They connected amazingly throughout the season, and you ended up selling him early last month. So what was that decision like? Was it tough? Obviously, he's going into his 4-year-old campaign this year. Kind of walk us through how that happened.
Well, yeah, you hate to see it leave, but it really wasn't that tough a decision, because that's just my business model. Is I race them at 2 and 3, and then I sell them all at the end of the 3-year-old year. He's a horse that I just love to keep, but the right offer came along, and so I sold him.
I'm sure you'll be watching from a distance as he's going down to the States.
Yeah, I believe he's training in Indiana right now. Jeff Cullifer has him. I think they're just giving him a little bit of a rest, and they'll race him in a lot of the major races this summer.
Yeah, the 4-year-old season for horses can be very, lucrative and very tiring, as there's a lot of stake races that they're eligible to if they go that direction. So we're very happy that you've had another successful horse last year, and especially with that year we had last year, you had such a great year. Is there anyone else from your barn that you're excited to train back and see what's going to happen with them in 2021?
Well, I had another nice 2-year-old Avion Sealster who started out the year well, and he was second in the Battle of Waterloo, and he hurt himself a little bit in that race, and the rest of his year wasn't very good. But he shows a lot of talent. I'm just hoping he comes back the way he was at the first of the year. But he's a very fast horse, so I have some hopes for him too. I have five 3-year-olds coming. 5 3-year-olds coming back, and I think they're all going to be useful. Hopefully, at least grassroots, but hopefully gold too.
Yeah, of course, and step up into the gold even if they start at the grassroots, which is a nice option with the OSS program.
Right. Yeah. You never know. It's a fine line between the gold and the grassroots. Those grassroots can be very tough, and you'll see it quite often where a horse will step up from the grassroots and become a good gold horse.
Absolutely. It's all about managing them and their abilities to prolong the season, because it is quite a long season from the spring till the fall when those super finals are, if you make it that far with them.
Right. Yeah. Especially with the 2-year-olds. If you can, the 2-year-olds can get fried very, very early, especially that first start, the first goal, they'll go crazy miles. So if you can get a nice race into them in the grassroots, it really sets you up for the rest of the year.
And speaking of, the OSS program and the grassroots and your 2-year-olds, let's get into some of your 2-year-olds that you have. So you've got 5 this year, and they're up at the Amish. So you send them to the Amish to get broke and train down a little bit. What is that process like? Do you get to go up there very often, and kind of walk us through your decision on doing it that way versus keeping them at home?
I go up there once in a while, but generally I'll get my the 2-year-olds all broke up there, and I'll leave them there for, it varies between a month and 2 months. Now this year I brought Neptune Sealster. I brought him home early, so I've had him at Classy Lane. Generally from the Shettlers, the Amish, I'll send them to. I've got various trainers that help me out: Gary Payne, Mike Wade, Marissa Snyder. They'll take them, and then generally at the 1st of April, when I get back from the south, I'll get them all together at Classy Lane. Now this year, it just kind of the way it worked out. They're going to stay at Shettlers until, well, next week I'll bring them to Classy Lane. They get their miles in at Shettlers, and they get schooled with other horses, but when you get them, they're well broken. They're ready to go on with.
Absolutely. So let's get right into them. The first one we're going to talk about is Unity. So this filly is by He's Watching out of Beach of a Time, and this is one of your homebreds.
Yeah, she's a nice filly. She was raised at Century Farms, which isn't far from this farm. So she actually, we broke my 2 homebreds. I got them broke early before everybody else, and went for about 2 months, and then I gave them the month of December off, a little rest, and now they've been at Shettlers for January and February, so they're ready to come to Classy Lane.
Ready to come home and do some work. And that second homebred you were speaking of there is Half Moon K, another filly by He's Watching out of Life Book. Here she is here up at Shettlers Farm.
Yeah, she looks like a nice filly too. She's the first one out of that mare. I'm a little bit excited about the mare. She actually wasn't too much of a race mare, but she's got a great pedigree. She goes back to a real good Brittany farm pedigree. So it's kind of an unknown, but I'm looking forward to her.
And with those unknowns, whether it's a sire or a dam, do you have high expectations? Do you ever worry about, being a first foal out of a horse or by a horse when you're looking at pedigrees and maybe who to breed to whom?
Yeah, I don't really worry about the first foal. Like when I'm buying yearlings, I'm not worried about it. I'm more or less buying the individual. So I'm just hoping that that it all works out.
Of course. The third one here on our list is Siberian Storm, a colt this time by He's Watching. And this one you got at the Harrisburg sale for $27,000. So kind of what drew you to him?
Yeah, like they say he's going along nice. Actually, I have three He's Watchings this year, and I haven't trained one yet. I don't no particular reason. It just turned out I haven't trained one. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting them to Classy Lane to see what they're like.
Yeah, there's always kind of the unknown. You hear things good, either positive or constructive from all different kinds of trainers. But if you've never actually worked with one-on-one, it can be a total different ball game. So you definitely have three here, the two homebreds and then this colt here. So it's kind of exciting for you to see what you can do with the He's Watching, either filly or colt this season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, anything new is always a little exciting. New sires. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting the new breeds.
The next one on our list here is Neptune Sealster, another colt by Sunshine Beach. Ontario sired and Ontario bred. You purchased at the London Selected sale for just over $68,000.
Yeah, this is the one I've got to claim. He like colt. Very smart, well-mannered, just a real nice mouth on him. Got a nice, easy stride on him, as you can see. And he's just kind of laid back, but when you ask him to go, he just keeps going forward. So he's doing everything I like at this point.
So what made you choose to bring him home to where you're stabled here at Classy Lane versus keeping him up at the Amish?
He was actually my favorite yearling when I was buying yearling. I kind of fell in love with him, so I wanted to keep him close by. And it just, depending on the stalls and the help I've got, kind of that's how I decided how many horses I've only got three there right now, and but I've got to fill the barn up pretty soon.
Got to get some more stalls and bring them all home. So your last 2-year-old here on our list is Century Iglesias, another colt here, this time by Shadow Play. Ontario sired, Ontario bred, and again at the London Selected sale, this time for just over $35,000.
Yes, he had an OCD taken out early, so he was a little bit late getting started, but I like what I see with him. He's a real lively colt and good feeler, and I like the Shadow Play, so hopefully he's my Shadow Play for this year.
That's exciting, and good luck with all of them. They all look, wonderful in their videos. They're jogging around the track, and hopefully get them home nice and safe in the next couple weeks, and you'll be able to start doing some miles yourself with them to really sit behind. What's that process like for you once you bring them home from the Amish? How do you start them back with you in the bike or some of your help in the bike, and kind of step by step step them up to that racing mile or that qualifying mile?
Yeah, right. As soon as I get them, they'll be ready to train, and I'll just get them right into a routine and start dropping them. We got a beautiful track at Classy Lane, so you don't miss many days, and you don't miss training days. And like I said, we've got I've got March, April, May to get them ready, so I've got lots of time to get them ready for the first sire stakes. If they're good, we have the time.
And you do, go to a few different sales, whether it's in Canada or the States, depending on what you're looking for, where you're going. And when you're looking at yearlings at the sale to purchase them, how much time do you really invest in going to the farms before to check them out versus actually looking at them at the sale? And which do you prefer?
I do like going to the farms, but I have just found I don't get to the farms in the States anymore. The ones in Ontario, I'll get to the farm. And it's preferable if you can get to the farm to look at them, but I find anymore the videos that they have show me just about everything I need to see, and then just to get to the sale and get a look at them. I found I can get a good enough feel for them that way.
Now you kind of already have an idea going into the sale, and then looking at them there either solidifies it or kind of, leaves a question where depending on how much you want to spend on them.
Right. Yeah. I've done the pedigree work, and everything in the video looks good. So as long as the confirmation is there in the side, the videos you can't tell for sure how big or small they are. But yeah, as long as they look the part, I feel confident.
And speaking of looking the part, with HRU's Murray Brown, you've talked to him about when you're looking for yearlings. You've said you're looking for an absence of faults, that they're, on the large side, you like a big butt and shoulders. And you mentioned about it with 1 year, 2-year-olds as well, but the way their faces, so like a wider jaw and wide nostrils. You've also said a good head and a sharp looking eye. So you're putting a lot of emphasis kind of on the individual versus the pedigree, like you've said. What about those, pieces of the horse that you're looking at that are either big or strong or wide, really speak to you? Like a wide jaw, why would you be looking at that for a yearling?
Yeah. Well, I actually picked that out of the Care and Training with Trotter and Pacer many years ago. It was Billy Houghton that said he always checks under the judge. You've got to have 4 fingers. So I've always done that, and over the years, I've never bought one that had a narrow jaw, and I've passed up on a lot of good-looking yearlings that were narrow in the jaw that didn't turn out. I'm sure there's probably been the odd one that has, but I know the odds are with you when you get a nice wide jaw. But as far as the confirmation, a good. A nice leg on them, good bone, good confirmation. They'll stay sounder. And any little confirmation, lots of them can go with it, and lots of them can win. But if you, they'll go lame. A lot of them will just go lame. So if you can get the confirmation, they'll generally stay sound for you. And you just got to hope that they've got the speed and everything else, and you'll have a good horse.
Yeah, the things that we can't see or can't tell, right? You got to hope that they're there as well. Speaking of confirmation,
exactly. Yeah.
You'd mentioned, a horse getting a chip out of their ankle or an OCD. What about that? Does that matter to you if you know about that prior, that they may need that?
It turns out that there's so many yearlings that have OCDs, and there was a day way back when if a horse had an OCD taken out, I might steer clear of that one. But now, when they've had an OCD out, I'm happy about it because at least it's out, because they do have them, and but there's lots of people that they X-ray their yearlings before they buy them, and they turn down a lot because they've got the OCDs. Others, they get them home and they X-ray them, they find out they've got OCDs, so they get the surgery done on them. It turns out that 3 out of 10 yearlings will have OCDs. Now, I found that most times, even if they've got OCDs in there, they won't bother them. Like over the years, I never X-ray a yearling before I buy it, and then I never X-ray it when I get home. Now, once in a while, something will pop up, and you'll just get it taken out. But most times, nothing showed. They'll have the OCDs all their life, and they just never bother them. Now, that particular yearling, that shadow play yearling that we looked at, he had the OCD. I knew about it before the sale, so but I took it out right after the sale.
Yeah, there's a lot of, interesting facts. And of course, as you kind of grow through and have those growing pains in the industry, like everybody does, you learn and evolve from what you like versus what really doesn't matter. Whereas others kind of maybe are unsure about them at first if they don't know too much, or if it's their first few years really into the yearling game. And speaking of the yearling game, you've kind of gone to keeping a smaller stable the past little while, and that's really worked for you. What about that, or why did you make that decision to kind of go the yearling route, the young horses, and then, as you've said, sell them off and kind of replace them as the year goes on?
Yeah, all my career I've tried to keep my stable fairly small because I've always been kind of a hands-on type of person. So I like to be able to touch them, feel every one of them every day if I can. So that's why I kind of stay small. And sorry, what was the other question you asked?
Just kind of where that came from, but yeah, keeping them small, and going through that hands-on kind of answers the double question there. But being able to actually see them and work with them every day and see them improving, being hands-on, like you said, can make a big difference on what you know, or what is happening with the horses, or on what to fix or not to change with them, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's things can go wrong in this business quite easily. So if you can just keep the closest eye you can on them, it's helpful.
And you place most of your emphasis of your stable on the OSS program. What do you love about the program?
Actually, I like everything about it. I just like the way it's set up with the purses for the golds are great. Super finals, perfect. Grassroots I like. The tracks we race at, we get to race most of the time on the big track. Generally, with the gold, you might have one start on one of the smaller tracks, but the others are all on the Mohawk track, and I just love that. And even the grassroots, they're mostly on the Mohawk track, and I think that's a good idea because those grassroots are they're very competitive races. They're good races, full fields, and they're good betting races. So when they're racing at Mohawk and they're betting, $1.5 million or $2 million a night, I think that's got to be better than racing at say Hanover or something for $50,000 a night. So I just think it's good for the handle. It's good for the horses to stay on the big tracks. And like I said, but they do make an appearance at the smaller tracks, which is good for them too.
Yeah, and they put on a great event as well. There's always something happening during an OSS event, whether it's grassroots or gold. Even at the smaller tracks, they really make it, a family affair. Even though people couldn't come to the tracks this year, you could still tell that all the tracks put a lot of effort into making, the Ontario Sire Stakes program such a great program for all of those involved, even when, owners or trainers or whomever can't actually go to the track maybe for all of them.
Right. Yeah, they really do. I love going to Clinton on the Sunday. I love going up to Hanover. They get some pretty good crowds out there, and it's just nice to see the crowds at those events. And
you've kind of, throughout your career in this sport, you've put a lot of time and effort into improving the sport. In the past, you've successfully lobbied to banish the one-hand whipping. You've suggested that all CTO2 tests be published, and you've helped led the charge to raise money to get the Meadowlands Pace and the Little Brown Jug on TV. And you've spoken about fixed wagering, all kinds of different aspects throughout our industry. What do you think are a few of the biggest issues that we're facing in harness racing?
Well, the biggest issue is we have to attract some fans, and we need to get some fans to the track. It's great when you can sit at home and watch the races at home, and I think that's an important part to it. But we've got to get people to the track, get them interested in the horses, in the drivers, and we're working on it. We're getting that way, and the fixed odds. The fixed odds betting is just very exciting to me, and it's a big deal. and it'll be tough to get. But if we can get it, that's going to revolutionize the whole business, I think, with the betting, because they can. Like I said, I can't get into it now, but there's just so many different things they can do with the fixed odds betting. But there's things we can do, and we just we're gaining ground. We have it's been tough, but I think we have some hope.
Yeah, and like you've said, it's that fan aspect that really brings people in, and bringing new people in too. The family days are great, kind of putting on the fair and the family events at the tracks. And of course, they're always busy, but it's getting them to come back, and which is, when you're grandfathered in or your family's in it, you kind of grow up in it, and it's just there to go to. But it's really, like you've said, getting the people who are outside of the industry to the track, and we are, like you've said, working on that. So it's baby steps, and of course this year has kind of fumbled through, not being anyone able to go to the track. But hopefully this year things will move forward, and we'll be able to get some of those beautiful summer days out on Sundays at Clinton or wherever we end up, and really get the community involved would be a huge thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as we kind of wrap up here, we do have a few viewer questions that were sent in this week or prior to this evening. And we'll get the first one up here in just a moment, and we'll go through. I believe we have a couple of them. So from Charles Foster, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but do you prefer to evaluate a yearling based on a video or an on-site inspection? So which is more important to you, a good video or a good pedigree?
For me, it's a good video. Pedigree, I like a good pedigree as much as anybody else. But if the pedigree is too good, I mean, for a guy like me, it'd be too expensive. If if you get a great individual, tremendous pedigree, I mean, it's just going to go out of my price range.
Of course, yeah, that's a big thing. Is
like
price range, right? When you're looking at yearlings.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying a big thing is price range when you're looking at yearlings, especially when you're looking at pedigree. You have to kind of find that sweet spot of what you can afford and what you want.
Yeah, that's right. And for me, like I said, this is my business, so I like to make a profit on each one if I can. So if you pay too much, I mean, you've kind of eliminated the chance of making a profit unless they're a champion. So yeah. I like to buy them as cheap as I can, but it's hard to do when you're buying really nice individuals. I'm a little bit too fussy for my pocketbook, but you can generally get what you want bought. But the video.
Next question from one of our viewers.
The video is important.
Yes, of course. You're able to kind of tell a little bit more about them if you can't actually see them, especially some of those U.S. farms, right? Like you had said that you're unable to get to all the time. Our next question comes from Gary McIntosh. And when looking at a yearling's pedigree, what percentage would you consider the sire versus the dam?
Yeah, I would say the dam is 90% of it. We have you have good sires and medium sires and poor sires, but like the difference between a great sire and a good sire, the great sire might have 3 good 2-year-olds in a year, and the good sire will have 1 or 2. So there's no sire that's as good as we think they are or as bad as we think they are. So we all have preferences for sires, but to me the mare is by far the most important thing.
And our last viewer question here coming up now is from Cole, and he says, by March, have you pretty well sorted out your A team of 2-year-olds, and how often does a late bloomer develop?
Yeah, for me, it's always been almost never does a late bloomer develop. I've just found I know pretty well in January who my best 2 are anyway. Sometimes you can't quite tell until you get to crunch time, but I found there's generally no real big surprises. At least not on the upside. There's always lots of surprise on the downside. But I've just
I
found
was
that
going to say go the other way, right?
yeah, the good ones, they just show something early. They just got that class to them, the way they carry themselves. They generally stand out early.
We actually just have a couple more questions that came in, so we'll put the next one up here for you to take a look at. And from John, I've heard you say that you have a certain picture or silhouette of a horse that you would like to see in a yearling. Can you elaborate on that? So we talked a little bit about that when you had spoke to Murray Brown and HRU, but you can kind of reiterate that here, what you're looking for in a yearling.
Yeah, it's generally it's a horse that's he's a little bit bigger than average. Like I say, he's got all those parts. There's just the confirmation of them. They stand. All the parts are in the right spot. They're well balanced. They've got that classy head and neck on them, and it seems that the really good ones, they will pose for you. They're standing there. Their ears are up, and they'll cock their neck and they'll pose for you. It's amazing what the good ones do. They're just some horses. They're just really classy horses, and I found quite often that just carries on to be a good stake horse.
Yeah, it's like they already know, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Posing for you, they already know what you're looking for, and kind of a pick-me situation. And our last question here from one of our viewers, from Blake McIntosh, he said, "Who is the most annoying person you're stabled beside?"
Well, he knows the answer to that, and it's my good buddy Anthony Hunt. But he's not beside me anymore, but I get to see him on the track, so he keeps me terrorized. And I keep him terrorized too.
And of course, you got to have some friendly fire and some friendly competition when you guys are all stabled at the same farm. And what is it like, when you're seeing, whether it's Anthony's or Blake's or whomever's horses around you, you're watching them go and comparing them to yours. Do you ever kind of think, okay, how's that one doing? Or we're going to be racing against this, filly or colt. What do they look like out on the track? Do you ever kind of keep an eye out for those ones as well?
Oh yeah, I like to watch. I like to watch, and we're all friends, so we're interested in what the other guys have got, and we're always asking about what they've got, and I think we're all kind of rooting for each other, we're just hoping we all get to meet together in a gold somewhere along the line.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's one of those things. If it can't be me, I hope it's you. Situation and around all kinds of different training centers and farm tracks, and that's one thing. Our community in the harness racing industry is really uplifting. If someone's down, everyone is the first person there to really help them up if something happens and get them on their feet again, which we can't say enough about. In this past year has really shown that for those who have struggled or of those who have gone through things in the past, whatever that may be, and really uplifting them and getting them all back on their feet. So our industry is definitely a community and one that hopefully will grow and continue to be a positive towards each other. Of course, with some friendly competition, because we always need that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it just happens over and over again when somebody needs help. The whole community of horse people is right there to help. It really makes you feel good.
And thank you so much for joining us here this evening to talk about some of your racehorses coming back, and of course your 2-year-olds training down into the 2021 campaign season. Best of luck coming in and getting back into that racing mode here this season, and we hope to see you out at the track, and if not, virtually. And good luck, and thanks for joining us here.
Okay, thank you. It was fun.
And for everyone out there watching, our upcoming schedule is popping up here soon. We've got all throughout March, twice a week, with who we're going to be interviewing for our upcoming schedule for twos in training. Of course, it's subject to change, but make the availability if you'd like, and of course, it's always posted. So if you haven't already, please subscribe for free to HRU at harnessracingupdate.com. And once again, thank you for our sponsors for tonight's video, OSS, KOSA, and Jaimi Freight.
In a field lies hope, anticipation. From the biggest races to the brightest stages, taking you on the wildest ride.
Forbidden Trade with a gigantic upset.
Tall Dark Stranger answers the bell. For the glory, the pride, the payoff. Enter the field, the Ontario Sire Stakes program, from Ontario farms to the world stage.
O'Brien Award winner Jaimi Freight's first crop arrives in 2021. Jaimi Freight is the richest and fastest son of sports writer and was a major stakes winner at ages 2, 3, and 4.
And Jaimi Freight turns on the Jimmy Jet by a length and a half in 1:48.1.
Jaimi Freight at 10-1 to win the Dayton Pacing Derby.
Jaimi Freight is fast and athletic, and both traits should carry to his offspring. He is standing his second season at Winback Farm of Ontario. Don't be shut out in 2021. Book now.
By now, you know the name KOSA TV, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. KOSA TV has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. KOSA TV, taking Ontario racing global.
Harness Racing Update is the sport's most comprehensive and timely news source. HRU covers the sport from all angles with news, features, photography, opinion, and analysis of racing. Also, HRU covers breeding and sales, as well as industry stories you need to know. It's all delivered by a deep, diverse, and talented team of writers and photographers. And the best news is that it's free to subscribe. Subscribe to HRU today for free at harnessracingupdate.com and see what everyone is talking about.